Everyone knows the feeling of standing at the water's edge, looking at the distant sky, wondering what lies on the other side. In the year 1325, a 21-year-old named Ibn Battuta acted on that exact impulse, packing his bags and leaving his family in Tangier, Morocco. His stated reason for leaving was entirely conventional for a scholar of his time. He planned to complete the Hajj, the traditional religious pilgrimage to Mecca. A long trip, certainly, but one that typically wrapped up in a year or two. He said goodbye to his parents and set off, completely unaware that 24 years would pass before he saw his homeland again. This map shows the scale of his journey. The routes radiating from Morocco total 75,000 miles. Overlaying Marco Polo's route shows Ibn Battuta traveled roughly 3 times the distance, which raises an obvious question. How does a young student on a standard religious errand turn into the most relentless traveler of the medieval world? The initial trek across North Africa stripped away romantic illusions. Medieval travel was an exhausting reality of harsh desert heat and minimal shelter. Along the road to Mecca, he contracted severe fevers that left him tied to his saddle to keep from falling off, and his caravans faced the constant threat of violent ambushes from highway bandits. But he survived, and finally reached the center of the Dar al-Islam, the vast, interconnected Islamic world. Stepping into Mecca, he was struck by the sheer scale of the global community gathered in one place. Having fulfilled the primary religious duty of his life, he realized something specific about himself. He had absolutely no desire to turn around and go home. The strict obligation of the Hajj served its purpose as the initial spark, but it left him with an intense, lifelong curiosity about the cultures operating at the edges of the map. As he kept moving, his motivation shifted. The pious pilgrim looking for spiritual fulfillment became a pragmatist, actively hunting for wealth and social standing. He realized his education was highly valuable. He used his credentials as a trained legal scholar to smooth his path through foreign courts, turning his degree into a VIP passport that carried him through Persia and down the coast of East Africa. This strategy peaked when he arrived in the Sultanate of Delhi in India. There, he successfully pitched himself to the local ruler and secured a highly lucrative position as a royal judge, complete with a generous salary. But high salaries came with high stakes. He had to navigate deeply paranoid, volatile royal administrations, where falling out of favor didn't mean losing a job, it meant immediate execution. Maneuvering through these dangerous political networks hardened him. The naive student from Morocco adapted into a shrewd survivor, capable of playing the elite social circles of the 14th century to his advantage. Then, off the coast of India, disaster struck. His fleet was caught in a massive storm, tearing the wooden hulls of his ships apart. In a matter of minutes, the wealth he had accumulated, his royal status, and his entire traveling entourage sank straight to the bottom of the ocean. He survived, but he was left with nothing. Yet this total material loss created a paradoxical kind of freedom. Stripped of his money and his court appointments, he no longer had to worry about political ambition or keeping a paranoid sultan happy. Unburdened, he launched into the final, most expansive wave of his travels. Driven solely by wanderlust, he moved through the Maldives, pushed into China, and eventually crossed the Sahara to the Mali Empire. This final phase marked his complete evolution. He was traveling without duty, without a salary, seeking only to witness the sheer diversity of human life on Earth. Decades after he left, Ibn Battuta finally returned home to Morocco. He was an old man, and his parents, the ones he left behind in Tangier, had long since passed away. The world he returned to was devastated. The Black Death was sweeping across the hemisphere, wiping out vast populations in the very cities he had once walked through. While the physical landscape was decaying, his mind held something deeply precious, the pristine, collective memory of the entire pre-plague medieval world. At the urging of the local sultan, he sat down to dictate those memories. The result was his masterwork, the Rihla, which translates simply to the journey. The text holds immense historical value. Because of the sheer ground he covered, the Rihla serves as a singular, irreplaceable record, preserving the distinct sights, sounds, and customs of the 14th century before they were lost. In 1325, A student left home for a routine trip. 75,000 miles later, he proved that a single human life, fueled by relentless curiosity, is actually large enough to encompass the entire world.